Every sport is like a table or a chair with 4 legs. The first one is technique, second one is tactics, then the physical aspect, then the mental. Unfortunately, the mental is the least employed in Egypt. It's gaining ground now, and everybody's thinking about its importance. Although it's an ancient science, it's not recent. It started by a very smart remark maybe 150 years ago. You know, the bicycle races, they race against each other, and sometimes they race against the clock. When the same athlete, cyclist, is racing against the clock with the same bicycle, he gets better timing when he raced against other cyclists. They repeated this so many times, and it's every time they found that he's doing better when he's competing against others, not alone. And then they discover there's something else we can't see. It's the same bicycle, the same cyclist, the same physical abilities of the cyclist. Then they discovered that maybe there is something social or psychological we can't see. It's the competition, the need to win. And then they started searching for answers to a lot of things. The major question that started this is, are there certain personalities that are gonna excel in sports and others are not? Maybe they have the same physical ability, but someone is excelling in sport and the other is not. Maybe if you do some psychological testing to the players who want to compete in a sport, we can segregate them and push everyone to the sport that it's matching his personality. Other issues that are handled by sports psychology are the issue of concentration, the issue of arousal control, how to control your arousal before the match, and anxiety, how to control your anxiety in the middle of the matches, because everything is online and you're very well seen. Everything is happening in front of millions of spectators. Other major things are, they call it sociology, not psychology. It's the aggression of the fans, the aggressions of the players. Another issue was very important is the self-confidence. What makes people more confident than others?
Yes, speaking of the mentality and the mental health and the mental strength as well, Mohamed Salah, of course, the Egyptian player playing for Liverpool now, spoke about the mentality of the players in being one of the differences between him and a number of players who did go out to England and played in foreign leagues, but didn't make it as much as he did, and didn't have the same success as much as he did. And he got a lot of criticism regarding those statements regarding the mental health and how to be strong physically and mentally and psychologically as well. How do you see the mentality of the players playing, and especially the young players playing and developing in Egypt now, to what he said a couple of months ago?
As I was telling you before, it's like a chair or a table or even a car that's running on 3 wheels, not 4. The psychological aspect is really important. It's one of the main pillars of sports. And interestingly, the contribution of this aspect, it's not like 25% on all the wheels. Sometimes in the professional level, the psychological aspect is even more than 90%, because the other 3 aspects, we're all the same in it. We're professional players. We're really very well selected. We're physically very well. Technically, we have the skills, strategy, we're sharing the same thing. The only thing that's going to make the difference between professional players and another is his mental state on and off the court. That's why at this level it's really important. Maybe at the beginner level, if you're teaching a kid how to play soccer or how to play tennis when he's 5 years, 7 years old, it's mainly technical, maybe sometimes physical. Tactics and mental are not here at this time. As you go up and you move towards the teenagers and then professional players, the psychology takes the upper hand.
Yes, speaking about the mentality of the young players, to be specific, the ones who are developing through years, if we can speak about not just football, but Al-Ahli club, Zamalek, Sporting in Alexandria, Samoha, big teams and big clubs on different levels and different governorates. Do you think that those clubs are putting into consideration the mental health and developing the mental strength of players from a young age?
I think I can only speak about my experiences in clubs. I was working in a club like 20 years ago, and now I'm back again to Ahli Club. Maybe 20 years ago, we were using sports psychology in Ahli. I remember that I was asked to help other teams. I was working in the tennis team, but I was asked to help other teams. Although the sports psychology now is highly specialized. It's not one size fits all. It's not one sports psychology expert who can help all other sports. They specialize in their own sports because every sport has its own specialities. The other really important thing that it's delaying the improvement of sports psychology in Egypt is you can't have foreigners doing this because we have our own norms. It's like psychiatry. You can't go to a foreign psychiatrist. They don't know your norms. Every country has its own taboos and beliefs and things. Some things are really normal in England. Here it's like if you do it, you're crazy. That's why you have to have your own team of sports psychologists specialized in different sports in Egypt to help. I don't think we're helping this science when people who are just taking online courses or just reading about it starting to give the service because they give it a bad name. People, they don't benefit out of it, they don't get convinced by the information, and they throw it all over. Especially that psychiatry or psychology in Egypt is scarred. Nobody thinks that it's normal to go to a psychiatrist or psychologist, although in the States or in the foreign, in the Western culture, it's a normal thing. You go to a shrimp, you go to a psychiatrist and talk to him, and they're very expensive. In Egypt and the Middle East, it's not normal until now. You think that you're crazy if you're going to talk to a psychiatrist or something.
We do know that especially Al-Ahli players and Zamalek players on the big level playing against each other, they have psychological tests and sessions before the games and before the big games and the big tournaments. Do you think that, or what is happening between, or what is the main discussion going on between the player and the psychiatrist before big games and big tournaments? Is about the previous experiences in his life in general, or is it just about the sport itself and what is happening on the pitch or on the court?
Some of the players, they stated that many of the successful or legendary Egyptian coaches were really remarkable in sports psychology. They can reach for the players like Hassan Shahata, Gohari.
Man management.
Yes, they know the players. They were there and they look up to them. When Hassan Shahata tells you something and you're really close to him and you're raised watching him play, you believe him. If those legends have enough information about sports psychology and how to deal with it, how to use it, because they got it by trial and error. And some of them have the gift of knowing how to handle this. They know the essence, the basics of sports psychology. That's why they are successful as a coach, because if you have a big match like 1 week from now, the 4 or 5 days leading to the match, you're not talking technique or physical. You're talking strategy and psychology. You can't teach someone how to kick a ball before a big match. You talk about strategy and you talk about the mental. That's the only thing. If the coach is not an expert in the mental, or doesn't believe in it, or is not good in it, or he doesn't have the intuition, he's only very good in technical or physical stuff, he's not going to help you before the matches. He's going to do very good work in the practice field and in between the matches, but leading the matches, running the show, every time the coach speaks, the players feel that he's nervous, he's afraid, he's confident. He's the leader in team sports. A very good example about this, when you have national matches before in Egypt, and you know how the media is all over the players before the big events.
Yes.
And they're pushing them, and some of the businessmen giving them prizes and telling them you're gonna get cars or something if you win. This was happening like 20 years ago.
Oh.
Players respond in a different way. Some of the players are really know the importance of the match, and they're even crying before the match. They're so tense. If you increase the level of anxiety by telling them that's really important and like 100 million Egyptians are behind you, are waiting for you, he's not going to play. His performance is going to drop. He's going to panic. He's going to freeze. Other players are not panicking before the match, they are not relaxing. They are in the middle. They are very well balanced. If you keep pushing them through the media and telling them it's really important, maybe you're not taking it serious, it's more serious than you think, We're going to push them to be like the panicking guy. We're going to lose 2/3 of the players, the panicking and the balanced. We're going to only help the relaxed player who's very careless. Because we think that we have to make them all care. Maybe 2/3 of them are caring already. You're trying to...
They should be, because they are professional, and
some of them are careless. Some of them,
their careers are depending on it.
But the way they think that we're helping them, we're pushing them, we're motivating them. But the relationship between performance and arousal, before they thought the more I motivate you, the more important the task, your performance is going to keep moving up like straight line. In fact, it wasn't like this. They discovered that they reach a peak, and then it's turning back like an inverted U, which means that you play terrible when you're careless, and you play the same level of terribleness when you're really anxious, when you're afraid. And the coach and the spectator, they don't know the difference. They think that this guy's careless. Maybe he's so afraid. There's a very small peak that you can excel on this. This is called the inverted U theory. The bad thing about this theory is when I push someone or something happened in the match and you're dropping from this curve and dropping down to the bottom of the line, we can't move you up. We can't relax you for a while, then you come up. It's like falling from a mountain. You're on the edge of the mountain and you fall down. You have to go all the way back.
The whole new tournament.
It's not that easy.
Competition.
You can lose your confidence in a few seconds, but to gain it back, it's not that easy.